So we're 5 weeks through the 2018 NFL season. It's time for my weekly updated power rankings. You can check them out 32 to number 1 in the description box down below. I'll talk about them pretty quickly here. As far as the top 5 teams, I've still got my Bears number 5. Even with the bye, there weren't that many teams that did enough to me to be able to jump them at this particular moment. Number 4, you look at the Saints. The Saints are now 4-1. After that really bad opening week loss to the Buccaneers, they found a way to win 4 in a row. Drew Brees is cooking. That Saints offense is cooking. Their defense is starting to come alive. And if that continues to happen, then this is a real scary team the rest of this season. Number 3, the Cincinnati Bengals. Who dey? The hell did this come from? No reason to have real optimism or excitement for this Bengals team heading into this year. Marvin Lewis is starting to look more and more like a Coach of the Year candidate, and that's crazy to say, but it's absolutely true. The Bengals are 4-1, and they're looking good doing so. Now, can it last? Could they actually make the playoffs, actually win a playoff game this year? We got a long ways to go to figure that out. But right now, it'd be absolutely crazy to think the Bengals aren't a top 5 team in the league, because they most certainly are playing like it. And that's why they're number 3 on my list. 4-1. It's crazy how the NFL world works sometimes. Now, you'll notice one change at the very, very top. I've got the Chiefs now sitting at number 1 and the Rams sitting at number 2. Part of the reason is when you look at quality of win this past week, the Rams really struggled. Yes, it was on the road, but they really struggled to beat the Seattle Seahawks, and they barely did so. And this isn't the Seahawks over a few years ago. This is just a mediocre, middle-of-the-road Seahawks team. And as you look at the Rams more and more, you start to have real concerns about a defense that added all these big names along with Aaron Donald, and you realize that this defense isn't doing a very good job of stopping anybody. It is very reminiscent of that Greatest Show on Turf Rams team from the 99, 2000, 2001 seasons, where primarily to win, they had to put up so many damn points because their defense could only make a couple of stops a game, and that's the truth, and that's the way the Rams defense feels right now, and they shouldn't be that way. They have flaws and issues on that defensive side of the ball, and you wonder if that offense can continue to carry them all season long, especially once you get into the playoffs. Now, I have some of those same concerns for the Kansas City Chiefs, but that defense did play better on Sunday. Granted, it's against Blake Bortles, but the Chiefs beat a good Jaguars team. Mahomes wasn't exceptional or great, throwing for a bunch of touchdown passes or anything. But the Chiefs' defense forced several turnovers. The Chiefs found different ways to score, and they beat the brakes off of the Jaguars. So whereas the Rams barely struggled to beat the Seahawks, a mediocre to less than mediocre team, the Chiefs beat a real quality opponent in an impressive, convincing fashion. So I know right now probably in Vegas the most money is on the Rams as the favorites to go to the Super Bowl and so forth. And I look at it and I'm like, why can't it be Kansas City? They're also 5-0. And when I look at last week, their victory, even though it was at home, was against a much higher level of opponent, and it was a much more impressive victory against a higher level of opponent. Why wouldn't they be ranked number 1 instead of the Rams? So that's why I've got them number 1. In terms of the bottom 5, the Bills at 28, we know they're not very good, but they do have 2 wins this year. 2 wins is 2 wins. Plenty of teams in the league wish they had 2 wins right now, but Buffalo is one of them. But they're still a bad team, and we damn good and well know it. The Raiders at 29, they're 1-4. That's about where they are. They're not a very good team, and John Gruden's not a very good coach. I said it. The Cardinals at 30, they finally won their first game of the year. They were the last winless team in the league. Now everybody at least has 1 victory. Rosen's given them a little bit of life offensively, but obviously still incredibly early in his tenure as the team starting quarterback. But they're still not a good team either, and we all know it. Their 1 victory was on the road against a 49ers team that's arguably worse than them since they no longer have Jimmy G. And frankly, how great were they when they had Jimmy G any freaking ways? Which is why I have the 49ers at 31. You could talk about bad luck and everything else, but this still just wasn't a very good 49ers team heading into this season. You could get caught up in all the Jimmy G hype and buzz, but it didn't take away from the fact they still had concerns in several places on defense, and offensively they had concerns, especially outside at the skill positions. Then when you lose Jerick McKinnon for the year with the ACL injury, you know, it's easy to see why the 49ers are banging it out for possibly being the worst team in the league. The race to the #1 pick in 2019 is on. And the 49ers most certainly are in the mix, as are the New York Football Giants. Now, yes, they were very competitive against Carolina on Sunday. And they had a chance to win and maybe should have won that game. But you look at this team, you can focus on Eli Manning, or excuse me, on Odell Beckham Jr., and you could talk about his distractions. You could talk about the things he said that aren't things that a leader should say. But you're also talking about a team, when you look at them fundamentally, they are 1-4. They went all in with Eli in 2018, and it's proving to be a mistake like so many other people thought. And especially with this really tough early season stretch, by the time the Giants might get into some type of a rhythm and start winning 10 games, it's going to be way too damn late. And for all the talk about the offensive line of the Giants, like they didn't just invest big money in Nate Solder, didn't spend a second-round pick on Will Hernandez, talking about the talent offensively, even though they've got Odell Beckham Jr. back. Yeah, maybe Evan Ingram's out with a knee injury, but you spent the #2 overall pick on a dynamic multi-purpose back in Saquon Barkley. And the offense still isn't consistently worth a crap. What's the one common denominator in all that shit? You brought in a new offensive-minded head coach. What is it? It's fucking Eli Manning. His team ain't going anywhere as far as I'm concerned. As long as Eli's their quarterback. He's done. He's washed up. Accept it. Own it. And they look right now like the worst team in the league. Although you could definitely make a strong argument for the 49ers, sure. The Cowboys are a freaking mess, too. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising in a couple of weeks if the wheels really fall off the Cowboys. What real reason for optimism and hope do you have with them? Ugh. Just saying. Well, these are my power rankings for week number 5. Check them out and let me know what you think. I'll be back with them next week again and with plenty of other videos to come in between, so check them all out, damn it.